said, no, it's not far, we're just going to walk it. And I said, walk it? Because I'm from California and it's cold. So this is not cold. This time last year we had coats and scarves. I said, no, this is cold, we need a car. So they drove me all the way around. Thank you. Literally, I feel like my skin's about to fall off. Are you all not cold? Freezing! Anyway, earlier today I was in California and it was lovely and it's warm there, so I send you greetings from the warm weather.
We're glad to have you here. Can we give her one more round of applause? The dynamic director who made the film that we'll be talking about forever. And now kids will use Selma as a reference to learn about civil rights and to talk about these issues and add visuals to the stories that we have. So we're honored to have you here at Johns Hopkins University. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
I feel like I'm turning my back to these people, so I'm going straight.
Yeah, this is like, is this cool?
Yeah.
We in the living room. We having a conversation. We just chilling.
Yeah.
Cool. So I wanna start at the beginning. I want to get into to you and your start and where'd you come from and some of the early things that happened. So, there's moments in an artist's career, right? If you go back to the Kanye album, College Dropout, where he tells a story. Or if you go to the J. Cole album, where he talks about, he got locked up and he didn't care because the next day, he signed the Rockefeller. What's your come up story? What was that breaking moment? When did you get that phone call, that text, that call back when you knew, like, yeah, I'm out here?
That's a nice question.
Thank you.
I never had that moment because are you hearing something, honey? Have you got your camera on? You don't hear feedback? Nobody hears feedback?
I hear it. Yeah.
Okay, everyone feedback? How about now? That's good. Nice. Mic check, 1, 2. Anyway. I never had that moment where there was like a big come-up moment where somebody put me on. I wish, And I try to give that moment as much as I can to other people because I never really had it. It was a scratching, scraping, like soul-crushing experience of every step clawing through. And so that's not as sexy a story as some of our favorite MCs, but I think many artists and many people have had a very kind of step-by-step progressive experience as opposed to one pop, and that was mine. I remember the first time that I was showing my films in front of people, but it was never something where someone just said, "Here's the big check or the big moment."
Good. So it's a process.
Everyone has a different path. Everyone has a different path.
So this question is from the students. You're a quadruple threat. You're a writer, producer, director, and owner of a distribution company. Distribution companies are one of the most vital components to getting great movies out to the masses. Could you tell us about your company and its mission?
Yeah, well, it's called Array. It was originally called Affirm. Anyone familiar?
Yeah.
Few people. Thanks. Really, it started somewhat selfishly because I had made this small film called I Will Fall. I made it for $50,000. I had been saving my money to buy a house. My mother's from Compton, California, and she would just say, you're 22 and you haven't bought a house. It's like, but that's not, you're 24 now and you still don't have a house. I'm like, but actually, that's not, because she bought a house when she was like 19. So anything past 19, it was just like, you are just killing me without this house. So literally, I just started finally just saving for a house, put my checks in and was saving for a house when the filmmaking bug bit. And I took the $50,000, 50, that I finally saved after 5 years for a house and made a movie. But that film, I Will Follow, I knew it was a story that none of the studios would want. It was a story of a black woman and her journey through grief. She just lost someone that she loved, and so the whole film was really a meditation on loss and love and romance, and it was, some arty shit. And so I knew that no one was going to distribute it, so I had to figure out a way to distribute. And I created, with some like-minded people, a collective to distribute films like that. Films that the system, that the that the machine wouldn't want.
Okay.
An alternative for those films to reach audiences. And so we're in our 5th year. We just distributed our 10th film. No one said it would last, and we're still in love releasing our film. So it's been a happy marriage.
Any new titles we should be looking out for?
Yeah, we have a film called Ayanda, this really beautiful South African film. Oh, one person. You saw it this weekend? Yes, I know. That's fantastic. Oh, see, that one person who saw it makes me so happy. It's like the best thing I have on me all day. This woman in a red shirt who saw that one film. And that's worth it. That one person saw a film that otherwise she wouldn't see, because there's no studio that's going to pick up a beautiful South African film about this, sister who's struggling with loss and her father's car garage and romance and destiny and all those things. And another film called Out of My Hand, which is a really, really beautiful film by a Japanese brother who made it, about a Liberian man. You kind of get in the back of a taxi or an Uber and you wonder, who's this guy? Whose car is this? Where did he come from? It tells you the story of a man who drives a cab, and you follow him all the way back to how he got to America and what happened to him. So just beautiful small stories like that you're not going to see on a billboard or a commercial, but are still worthwhile.
Chris Rock talks about going to the movies every weekend over and over again and not seeing a black woman or not seeing a black face. So we're really happy with the work that you're putting out. But what is that reality like as a black woman and a director in Hollywood? Is it you have to work 20 million times harder, or is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard and it's an old story. You know what I mean? Like it's not the woe is me tale that I feel empowers me in any way or adds anything to my day or my energy to talk about how hard it is. But here's some crazy stuff. People say crazy things, act crazy. You're in boardrooms or in places and you're like, that was crazy, right? Like I was just in a meeting the other day. I won't say what, but some people that I'm in business with. And I just came back maybe 5 days ago from Mumbai, from India. I had a really transformative experience there. And so I come back, and everybody knows I went to Mumbai, and they say, how was India? And I said, no, it's life-changing, really. But, it's too much to talk about in the meeting, so I just say, it's too much to express. It's fantastic. And one of the key executives says, oh, I bet it was great, and then goes into like a stereotypical Indian accent. Says something like, I can't even do it. I just sat there and all like, is this happening right now? And everyone around the table, I won't say everyone around the table, all not of color. Maybe half the table chuckled nervously and half the table was like, wow, you really doing that right now? And so in some way you can say that's progress, because I remember even 10 years ago, everyone would have laughed. It's like you see some incremental progress, but still the fact that it's even said in a room like that by a big executive makes you wonder, okay, this is the person making decisions about the images that we see, what's in our local multiplex, what our kids watch, what we watch, what nourishes us, what entertains us, that narrow vision of what India is. And so, that's a small example of something that just happened 2 days ago, but life in Hollywood and life for many of us is riddled with those kind of microaggressions, and so it's just about, are you going to focus on those, or are you going to keep moving forward?
It's good that you acknowledge the progress. I think a lot of us dream about a wave sweeping through and everything changing, but it's like, from everybody laughing to a certain amount of people being offended, and then maybe like, in 1,000 years we'll have some balance.
Yeah, that's really sad progress. It's really sad and slow, but what you going to do? You focus on the beauty. There's a lot of good things happening too.
So let's talk about Selma. Were you a student of the civil rights movement before Selma, or did you become like more?
Tell it into Black history after Selma. No, I was an African American Studies major at UCLA, and to focus on protest politics and progressive movements, and my father's from Montgomery, Lowndes County, Alabama, which is right between Selma and Montgomery. So my mom works in Selma, like every day. She goes, "What's the odds? The person that gets that makes the Selma movie, her mom actually works in Selma. She goes over that bridge every day. If you want to go have lunch with mom on her lunch break, you got to drive through where everyone walked and marched and see her there. So I had a real kind of intimacy with the place and knew the history.
How did you really decide what events would be depicted in the film?
I took the script. The script was originally written by a man in England, and there were some nuances that were missing, like women. No sisters. It was a great scene that he wrote. No disrespect, but he just didn't have a. He was writing it as an observer on the outside of the story, and unless you were there, everyone's an observer. But as a writer and as a person telling the story, you have to get as close as you can. And so there was a distance there from it, and just some cultural nuance that was missing, and some, there were real gender issues. But there was one thing, Coretta Scott King, where she actually said, "Go get him, Marty." And like she said two other things to the whole film. And I'm like reading the script earlier, and I was like, can't. There's pages missing, right? Like, where's her story? Like, what is she doing? So to try to kind of break down the script and bring that to life, also I just felt like it was disingenuous in 2014, 15, and we making a film about King and not to address what we know about personal life now, whether what we know was kind of came to light through really nefarious means through COINTELPRO and, be in this brother's business in a way that nobody should have because it was all very destructive, but certainly there are things that have now come to light. And so I wanted to play with the idea of is he any less of a leader, any less of a world changer because of, whatever personal issues were going on in his family. And the idea was, for me, over the years, his personal life had always been he was a great man, but. And I was like, you know what? If you go in any of our email and checks, you're going to find some things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no one's perfect.
Right.
And so I just always really was allergic to that whole thing, that he had demerits because of whatever was going on within his marriage. And so I wanted to present that in the context of his marriage and still get to the end where you still felt like, wow, what a journey. And then the last thing was that it was not just King's story, Dr. King's story. I mean, this was a movement. This is like if someone tried to tell the Black Lives Matter story and focuses on one person. That's been the narrative, and it's just not true. So we tried to bring in as many voices as possible. Did we even get half? No. A quarter? No. It's a small fraction of the many, many groups and individuals who worked to make progress, but it was more than was there before.
When you added the voice of all of these powerful women affiliated with the movement, were you met with any resistance from funders or backers or?
No. I don't think so. Because it made the script better. I mean, it's more interesting. It was more interesting narratively and dramatically. It was a stronger script. No one wants to do one of those medicine movies. I just thought civil rights. I was there like, I have to watch this right now. That's what I was always so critical of those movies. I just really hate civil rights movies. I really don't like them. So my challenge was, how can I make one that I would actually want to watch? So you're really trying to distill down, okay, well, what were they motivated by? The same way that we're motivated by Eric Gardner or Freddie Gray or Walter Scott or Trayvon. They were motivated by those four little girls. The way that we felt, they felt. They felt that, and that spurred them forward. So trying to bring people into those moments, I think one of the things with a lot of historical dramas, definitely Black historical dramas, because there's a patina of respectability around it. Like, that shit was violent. It was like a terrorist state, and that's never shown. We show Jimmy Lee Jackson being murdered in the street, shot dead, and it doesn't happen like that. Worse than we can depict. And so to try to tell the story without getting into the moments of violence that punctuated and propelled it is really not telling the whole story. So anyway, that's what I tried to do.
Yeah, the scene with the four little girls set the tone. Like, I don't think anyone was expecting that.
Yeah.
That's just that was a good way to deliver that emotion, especially to people who don't really understand the movement. You see any parallels between the modern civil rights movement now and some of the ideas or some of the things that you put in Selma?
I mean, like-minded people, Black people and allies, brown people, fighting and raising their voices for justice. It's happening in a very different way. Completely, I think it's very different. If you study them both, I think that the way that they're unfolding, and when we study this time in decades to come, there are more differences than there are similarities in what's happening. I think it's very exciting.
Seems like they had we have more tools to organize now. They had less tools, but they appear to be more organized in certain ways. It seems like there was like a...
Appeared to be.
Appeared to be, yeah.
It was messy. They were messy too. You know what I mean? It was a ragtag group getting stuff together, and yet you did also have organizations that were structured organizations. But you can look at structured organizations, and you can see the pros and cons to that. You know, they were easier, or they were more nimbly infiltrated and more susceptible to infiltration. There's a lot of things that I think this movement, or people have learned from what happened before, and yet there are great benefits to having an organization as well. So no, it's interesting. The thing about civil rights movement, it was like really 12 years at its peak. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, we're really 3-4 years into what people are calling the Black Lives Matter movement. So I hope it's just getting started.
So one of the key things that happened, and I'm so glad you put this in the film, is the way people started to respond once they actually started to see those images on television. Mm-hmm. At first, the story's floating around, but then when you cut your TV on and see people being seen, and just all of those horrible images, it causes you to react and unite in a different way. So different races and ethnicities wanted to join you. They started popping up and showing up, and it became a nation's problem versus.
It's a lot.
it became a nation's problem versus just a problem for people in the South. Similar to what's happening today. Are we good? So today, a lot of people didn't really believe some of the things that were happening with police brutality until all of these videos started being captured on cell phones.
Right.
It's almost like no cell phone justice. I mean, no cell phone, no peace, right?
Right.
Yeah. What do you think of that? How can media be used as a tool to more effectively make people aware who don't normally have the opportunity, or people who have the luxury of not going through these experiences? If that was clear. It sounds a little weird.
No, I think I get what you're saying, brother. I think it's, images are powerful. They affect the way we see ourselves and the way that we're seen. And, it's centuries old, the way that we're seeing it. Whether it's slavery, black codes, turn of the century, birth of a nation, Willie Horton ads during the Dukakis first Bush campaign where, they demonized his brother, who was a killer, who was a murderer. But by demonizing him, which, might have been justified or not, it started to fold in all black men of that generation and begin a second wave of criminalization that has really led to, 2.3 million people being behind bars, the majority of which are black men. And so you can really start to trace that from images and how images embed themselves in our culture, in our DNA, how we treat each other. And so, there was a time when black people couldn't have a pencil. And now we all have a camera in our pocket. You know what I mean? The ways that we can communicate with each other across this room or across the world are so elastic. They're at our fingertips. And so I think it's fantastic that we're actually embracing it and using it. Whether it's a Rodney King verdict or whether it's Eric Garner being strangled on the street. There's something about the image. The challenging thing is in both those cases there was no justice. So the question is, is it enough to just activate awareness? When do the images actually start to, be foolproof evidence of injustice and that there's actually change around it? We still haven't got to that point.
I feel like this film is going to be used in classrooms for a really, really, really long time, maybe forever. You're now part of history. How do you feel about that? Other than happy.
It's lovely. To make something that might be around for a while is, feels amazing as a filmmaker. You hope that the images last, and we're still watching films that were made 100 years ago. And, there's thousands and thousands of films made around the world every year. So to have something that might, stick around for a little while is great. But I also know how I feel when I watch some old movies. Some of them, at the time, they thought they were going to be great. If you watch them now, you're like, oh, so great. So, you know, and I wouldn't mind that either. I wouldn't mind looking at this film in 20 years, Scott Willing, I'm still here, and being like, oh, good for the time, but it doesn't hold up now. That would be fine for me as well. I think there's something valuable about the present moment that I value just as much as whether or not, we still find some exciting 20 years from now. So.
3 films every year that make us see.
I love movies. I'm like, that's like asking a sports fan. I don't know what people ask for. Like asking the person that loves music for 3 songs. How? You say which genre, which era, which, you know what I mean? Yeah, I love movies. I really, really do. But let me see. Can you narrow it down? Like, who was the first one?
They shouldn't see.
Maybe they shouldn't see.
No, I get that.
Hard.
So much movie.
Love movies, yeah. Some people are movie people. Everyone, I love to get around a person who's like a certain kind of person. Like a lot of people are sports people. Some people get around foodie, just talk about food, like you're like, or someone who just loves light, and just like on fire for light. Like, wow, I just find that fascinating. The things that we all come from the same place, and yet our fascinations. And for me, movies, I'm like a big old geek. Truly, we could sit here all day and talk about it.
So students wanted you to speak on some of the modern campus movements, like what's going on in Yale in this year. The question is, do university officials have a responsibility to police insensitive speech or respond to incidents of racism on campus?
Well, I think you have to talk to the students. You can't ignore them. I mean, that's just the base. I think so much of what we're hearing on both campuses is just a lack of communication at the base level. There's so much more than that, but are you not going to are you not going to treat the students with respect and have a conversation and really listen and hear the grievances or hear the ideas of the solution? When I read about both of them, and I've been on set, I haven't delved into both of them very deeply, but the basic coverage is folks weren't listening to the students. And, if you're here to serve the students and you're not listening to them, then how did you expect a good outcome?
How can people who pay so much money in tuition feel powerless? Where does that come from?
Well, how can people that pay so much money in taxes not have any representation? I mean, but I mean, the exciting thing is to see students. I just think the whole Mizzou thing. I just thought that was incredible. I just thought that was badass. Folks really harnessing their power with whatever tools that they had, whether it was their own bodies, whether it was. I went to UCLA, and that whole movement had been happening for a while, but it seemed like it didn't get on the radar for many people outside of the campus until the athletes raise their voices. And, just the history of the black athlete, is one that is so rife with, these beautiful gems and bursts of power, and then, just dormant, kind of not really understanding what they have in their hands. And so to see that happen was just, it was pretty incredible. And, they had allies with them, and I just thought it was fantastic. Someone's going to make a movie about that one day. And then somebody sit on the stage and someone's going to say that maybe we want to do. That'd be great.
So,
any filmmakers out there? Woo! I'll see you right there. Any people who really love film like a geek? No. Some of y'all trying to be cool, but Okay.
I'm glad you asked that. It's actually perfect for the next question. I watched you give a speech on the internet the other night about desperation, right? Being desperate and how it stinks like I think we talking like an old stinky jacket, like that was 21 or something.
Okay, I did not say that.
No, it was a beautiful speech. It was a beautiful speech about how, once Ava started focusing on the work, she didn't really have time to worry about a rich uncle and all these different things that some people had. She just started making films and how once she started working really hard, things started to happen. Could you explain or talk about that? Because there's a lot of filmmakers and they need to know.
It's not even just for film. It was just something that I really I wish I had kind of clicked for me some years before when I was younger. That people can sense desperation and they don't like it. So it's not going to move you forward. Like, so usually at something like this, I'll take this for an example. If you're in LA and New York, right, you'd be on the stage and you'd be talking, and then afterward, some people will rush up to you and say, please take my card, and we have coffee, can we do whatever, right? So there's no reason, I'm not going to call you tomorrow, do you think I'm going to call you tomorrow? Or do you think we're going to really have coffee? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to take time out of my day, whoever you're take time out of my day to talk to you about whatever it is? It could happen, but it most likely isn't. The thing that would make it happen is if you had something to talk about. And the only way you have something to talk about is if you've done work, right? And so, most likely, if you've done work, someone might say, hey, here's my card, let me take you to coffee. But it's all based and predicated on your work and on your output. And everything else is desperation. It's just extra energy you're expending for no reason. Because ain't nobody going to call a card, and ain't nobody going to ever do the coffee or really want to do the coffee. And so that's kind of, it goes outside of industry speak, because that's like a LA, New York thing that people do. But it's just a waste of time. You could have been using that energy to walk out of the Q&A, take the information that you learned, and make something, or make a phone call, or write a script, or, book a class, or do something else. And I think that it's not just an industry thing, it's not just a film thing. It's just this whole idea of desperation reeks off of you. People can sense it. I'll just tell you one other thing, because I was talking to a cousin of mine about this yesterday. And I said, I got to tell you. I was coming here and I was going to tell you that. When you're going to, so I'm auditioning now, auditioning actors for a new TV series I'm doing. And actors come in, and it's the same way they come in when I'm hiring people, interviewing to be on my crew or on my staff. People come in nervous, a little nervous during the interview, natural. They come in and you're asking them questions, and they're giving those same old answers in the books. Don't read the books, they're just bad, right? And they're trying to you can just see it's just falling apart. What they don't understand is the minute before they walked in the door, my only thought as the hirer or the director was, I hope this is the person who solved my problem. I really need this part cast, or I really need an assistant, or I really need a camera person. And so they come in with all their baggage of anxiety because they're in an interview, and they're not solving my problem. So when you go into an interview, an audition, a pitch, whatever, just really realize that the person making the decision is hoping that you are the right one so badly. Truly, is this the person that's going to answer the phones perfectly? Is this the person that's going to be able to write the article the way we need? Is this the person that's going to do whatever it is, fill the role, do whatever it is? But so often we go into these places, even now I'll go into big meetings and I'll be in my head like, oh God, I really want this. And you sit down and I'll just be like, they want me. What's up? They need me. Right? And that just changes my posture. Not from a cocky place, but it just gets rid of that desperation, that anxiety. People are allergic to it. You don't like to be around people who are desperate and anxious. So why would somebody want to hire you or cast you or be around you? Yet that's the nature of what we're taught when we go pitch and interview is know the answers to these 10 questions and kind of be very buttoned up and bring that anxious energy. And people are attracted to freedom. People are attracted to openness, and that goes across the board in anything. It's not just entertainment. And literally, I'm telling you, you don't believe me, I can tell. But the minute I got that and started changing the way I behaved and acted and thought, everything opened up for me. It really did.
Are you legally allowed to tell us a little bit about your show?
Yeah, legally, yes. I'm creating a show. So after Selma, after you have a little bit of a hit, everybody likes you. And they want you to come around, they invite you to all the parties, and come take a meeting. What do you want to do? What are you interested in? You know, I was the same person 2 months before summer open, and now it's just meetings, and you hear all the things, and so right after summer, all the big dogs said, come, make something with us. We heard you're interested in TV, all the huge ones. And, but I decided to make it at a place where there was a friend who would give me freedom to do what I really wanted. And so I went to a place where there is no real original TV. I went to OWN. Which stands for Open Network, the only network owned by a black woman. And she said, well, why don't you make something with me? And I said, mine stuff's not really, it's not going to be positive. You know. About empowerment and spirit. I mean, it's in there. But it's not like that. She was like, it's a network, Ava. You can do whatever, you know, you can do different things. I said, yeah, but people don't really go there to watch the kind of thing. She's like, but, you know, what was AMC before Mad Men? It was a place where they show old movies. What was FX? You guys are all too young. What was FX before The Shield? It was its first thing. The Shield was like reruns of old Fox movies. It was FX with the O out. They just showed old Fox movies. And she said, everyone has to start somewhere, so why don't you come and help us start? And I said, okay, that could be good. And so that's what I did. So I'm there, and literally, it's like, you know, you watch the Emmys, and everyone goes up and says, oh my gosh, I love working with HBO. They give me freedom. Man, this place is so free. There's like free people walking around. It's like everybody's free up in there. Yeah, it starts with her, and who's freer? The friggin' billionaire. She's like, everything's free. So good. We have ideas and meetings. I said, what about this? What about this? And I was like, yeah, do it. I'm like, well, who do we have? And I'll say to her, I'm like, who do I have? And she's like, what do you mean, who do we have? And so we're just making stuff. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if anybody's going to like it, but we're having a blast. So much fun. I really love TV. And there's just a lot of good TV right now, a lot of film directors moving into television. So I was like, let me get my TV directing on. And so creating a show that's about 3 siblings. They all live in Louisiana. And they've all come back to Louisiana because of a tragedy in the family. And they all have, you know, love lives that are a mess. And, you know, there starts to be conflict between the 3 of them. And it's how they're able to find a rhythm and a beauty to their family again. And in the midst of it, it's a lot of drama. Not Empire drama, though. Not Empire drama. A little too much drama. And I directed an episode of Scandal. That's a lot of drama. It's not that. It's intense, but it's intense in a different way. More character intense than like stuff happening every 5 minutes.
We're looking forward to it. We want to open it up for some questions. But no coffee. Ava's not trying to go to coffee tomorrow.
We're going to open the floor to questions. If you could just take 2 lines behind the mic, we'll switch on and off. University. And I was a screenwriting and animation major. I was wondering, what was your screenwriting and animation? But my focus was on screenwriting. I was wondering what was basically the biggest thing that made you want to just become a filmmaker? You said you studied African American history or something like that in college.
Yeah.
What made you jump into filmmaking?
Thank you. Congratulations on your major.
Thank you.
Very cool. I was a publicist for 12 years, so I helped other filmmakers publicize their movies, so get the word out about their films. And that was my job. I was really good at it. I made nice money, and I did movies like, you guys are so young. I feel old. I'm really not old in my mind. But I did movies like black movies, like publicized black movies like Two Can Play That Game? Yeah! And like The Brothers? Yeah! You have to be like 5, so don't play.
I know, I'm like, you weren't even
comedies. I did a lot of those. I publicized Dream Girls and a show called Collateral. I was a publicist for a TV show called Girlfriends. Artists and filmmakers, and for years and years, for 12 years, until I finally said, if they can do it, I can do it. So I took that little $50,000 and I made a movie, and then another one, and another one.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi, thank you for coming out and talking. I'm not an artist, and so I'm just really thankful for people like you who are able to express and yeah. So I have 2 questions, and maybe you can just pick the one that you want to answer because I think they're kind of big. The first one is I struggle with respectability politics and high drama, like you mentioned, high drama art in black film and movies. So kind of balancing the line between what we should put out as a culture and what people receive and how they make assumptions based on them versus kind of turning against respectability politics, which is having a broad spectrum of art in general. Just what your thoughts are on that. And then the other question could be on black feminism and what's taking so long. I know you don't have the answers, but there's feminism and then there's African American studies, but it's really hard to find the combination of African American feminism combined as a study that's recognized. I don't know, maybe it's not in your area of specialty, but I just like your experience.
Wow, simple question. A few things. Well, I think there are plenty of examples in art and in life of African American feminism. So I'll give you this after. I know you know. I mean, there's lots of literature, art, music. I think there are plenty of examples. You were talking about the divide, so I think I'll just agree with that. But the question about respectability politics and, should the black artists be able to say and do whatever they want when there are people that aren't black watching, or there are people who are black watching that need to be nourished, or do they need to be nourished? Do they need to be entertained? What do you do? Had this conversation quite a bit. I have a couple of people that sometimes you sit around. I find myself sitting in the room. Lee Daniels over here, Tyler Perry over here. I was just at a thing, Spike Lee. Spike Lee got an honorary Oscar a couple nights ago. They didn't give it to him for Do the Right Thing. They didn't give it to him for Malcolm X. So said, well, listen, just take it. Antoine Fuqua was there, and John Singleton was there, and Malcolm Lee was there, and there was a bunch of different filmmakers there. And everybody was different. Everybody has a different voice. Everybody interprets this experience in a different way. So who am I to say that one way is right or wrong? Some things I see it, and and some things I celebrate and they feel spot on for me. My sister watches the very same movie and loves it. And I'm like, what? What? Did you not see when the guy did the thing? Yeah, but that was cool. She's having a different experience. And so, it's an ongoing question, but the bottom line is, as an artist, you have to stay true to what works for you and what works for me. It's going to be different than works for Lee, than works for Tyler, than works for Dee Reese, than works for Gina Byfoot, Casey Lemons, all of them. Everybody's different, and we just have to be able to accept that we're not a monolith, and everyone's not going to be in lockstep. Even though we want them to be, I want everybody to make that way, but it's probably best if they don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the interest of time, can we keep questions short so that we can get through as many as possible?
Great, we'll do it.
Hi, my name is LaTanya, and you're my friend in my mind. But so my question to you is, what advice would you give to introverts looking to find a mentor?
LaTanya, you're my friend in my mind too. And I would say mentors are not something that you look for. They're organic. True mentors are people that want to help you. right? So sometimes people come up to me and say, could you be my mentor? I'm like, I don't know. You know, mentors care about you. Mentors are someone who cares about you. And so how do you engender that care? How do you become close to someone? How do you create the intimacy or interest in what they're doing so they take interest in what you're doing? It's an exchange. I think a lot of people and the way that society defines mentors, I need a mentor to put me on or help me out. And it's really the most beautiful relationships I've found. Mentors come from the work. They recognize something in you, some drive, and it's usually the people right around you or someone that you put yourself in proximity to. So I just invite you to think about it like that. It's like a relationship. It's like dating. People don't think about it that way. You don't walk up to a few guys or a girl and be like, will you be mine? Like, I don't actually. No, but let's have a date. Let's find out. You know, people don't treat mentorship that way, and yet it's such an experience that's very similar. Try it that way.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, I'm Winona.
Very cool.
I'm a film nerd. I went to grad school for cinema studies.
Yay.
And so I've seen you in the Roger Ebert story, and I was just like, ah!
Yeah, you're a real nerd.
Yeah. So it's like being a fangirl, as now you're like a say hotshot filmmaker, but now you can be in those circles and go to the Oscar Hollywood parties and stuff like that. So do you have someone you'd be like,
probably not like that, but I try to play it cooler. But yeah, I don't do the opera stuff, but I enjoy. There's, in LA and New York, there's a lot of screenings and Q&As with filmmakers, and so I really, really love going to see a film and then hearing the filmmaker talk about it afterward. There's like one every night in LA and New York, and especially in LA during this time of year, Oscar time. There's so many, and so yeah, I definitely fangirl out. But I try to keep playing it cool. But there's some people I love, like I'm a big Werner Herzog fan. Werner Herzog. Any Werner Herzog? Like one guy back there. Yeah.
His documentaries are great.
Yeah, he's just incredible.
I could imagine.
Yeah, but nobody knows him. But if I saw him, if he was in the room, I'd be like, Werner over there. I mean, it's just really geeky. So anyway. Okay. Hi.
Hi. So
I want to do brief answers.
okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay.
So my name's Tiffany. I'm not like an artist or anything like that, but somebody noticed that you used African and British actors in your movie Selma. Do you feel like you faced any kind of like pushback or controversy for using? Because Malcolm, I'm so sorry, because MLK is like a very American figure.
Sure. I'm just looking for the best actors that are put in front of me or that come in front of me. So I find that there's a lot more training that's happening in Britain, a lot more stage and theater. I mean, we don't have we have no arts programs. We're just a country that says, good luck. If you want to do art, figure it out. We don't give any money for art. We don't have programs. And so, there's a whole generation, several generations of actors now that just do not have the training that I really look for when I'm on set. Because, and yet I work with some actors who just have an innate ability to do it. So you have to find that balance when you're auditioning. Yes, you hear a little bit of murmurs, but ultimately, I need the best performance. I thought David, I had a bunch of Brits in that film. But when they come in front of me, they are just, the best actor for the job. So I just try to put that noise aside. I would take anyone from anywhere if they could kill it. So, yeah. Thank you. Hi.
Good evening. There are a lot of movements that we know of with the civil rights movement, like power movement. There's a gap that exists after that. And you kind of mentioned it earlier with COINTELPRO. And the full story of the counterintelligence program run by FBI hasn't really been told. There have been like breadcrumbs in X and Selma and J. Edgar. But the full story hasn't been told. So when we start to look at the Black Lives Matter movement and other current movements to really learn what effectiveness is and how they can remain effective and create lasting institutions and lasting effect, to really see what happened with COINTELPRO and how they affected movements of the past, when do you really think that story can be told?
I think it's being told. Five docs came to mind. Documentary. It's being really well told in the documentary space. Tons of books. I mean, everything doesn't fit in a narrative configuration. Narrative, you're trying to put full lives, have a beginning, middle, and end in less than 2 hours. Everything's not really great. Can't really be well told here. Also, who's going to be brave enough to tell the real story of Fred Hampton, the Panthers, COINTELPRO? And that's a thought out. I mean, damn, like that. I'll do it. Somebody wants to give me the money, I will do it. But you're talking about where do those these stories. So when you see something like Selma, there was some criticism, it doesn't really get into the nitty-gritty. It's like, well, I had to get that $20 million. I had to take it as far as I could to tell the story. And $20 million for that kind of film is very, very low, what we pulled off on that amount. For example, the film, what was this film? Remember the film the hackers, what was it film called? James Franco?
Jennifer?
What was it called? The Interview? It was a Christmas thing. Yeah, it was a big deal. $44 million film. That was $20 million. So what we had to work with to make it was low. And so when you're talking about progressive politics and radical politics, somebody has to give you that money to do it. I think that's a big thing that's stopping, some of those grittier stories from being told.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Caroline, and I'm a student here at Hopkins, and I really enjoy going to the movies. And so my question is about when I'm aware of a lack of cultural representation in film or whitewashing, is it enough for me to be just aware of that going on, or should I be not seeing those films or something like that?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. I think your awareness is key. I was just giving this example in a vacuum. Your awareness is key to it. But also, if you know, sometimes you don't know until you get in there how bad it is, right? And I think part of it is, you can bear witness to it, but then also the comment upon it. I think so often if we let that stuff happen in a vacuum and we say we're not going to see it, we're not going to patronize it, then we're not able to have cultural critique. We're not able to tell the next person, don't go see that because that happens. Or to be able to get on Facebook and do a post and this is what I saw. I don't think there are enough allies really doing that, across the board. And so, we have to speak up when we see something that's not right. That's more than half the battle. So I'd say, when you see it, speak about it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Damian Bird Jr. I'm not a student at Hopkins or Morgan State.
You said it's not. If Morgan State gets a hoot, just no matter. Woo! Yeah.
But in light of your advice, I'm not going to hand you this card.
You can hand me the card.
But it's a little just comedically. Anyway, question, real life question. When working on a project, I'm in the middle of right now pre-production for a project that I'm working on, and I am trying to make the transition from actor to creator and trying to kind of organize and help do things of that nature. What would you suggest would be, and again, not looking at you as the Google awesomeness, which you might very well be. How would you suggest going about making a smoother transition as far as being able to balance what I want to see versus what actually is created in the piece?
But you're a piece, so you can make it what you want, or no?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Right. So, you have the power to make it what you want, right?
But because I'm working with multiple people.
Oh, right.
So it's like, how do you maintain the goal of creating this piece of work that changes lives, but at the same time making decisions that won't alter everyone else's feelings?
Sure. Well, I think, it's just fun like-minded people, and, maybe the first product isn't something that changes lives, maybe it's just something that gets you the experience that you know how to do the product that will change lives.
Okay.
It's incremental. Everything doesn't have to happen at once. I would say embrace whatever experience that you're having and just try to listen and learn. So as you're making a transition from one place to another, grab as much information, as many tools, as many experiences that you have as you can so that the next thing can be more in your vision. Hopefully that's yeah. Embrace it. Whatever's going on. It sounds like it's drama. But
it's going to be happening.
Okay, it's going to be happening. I know. Hi.
Hi, I'm Renee. I'm a student here at Hopkins. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about, there's sort of a conflict between, as filmmakers and creators, making content that is easily marketable, easy, fun, versus making things with like a serious political message. And when there's a blurring of the line between the two, people kind of, so I was wondering if you could just speak a little bit about like the political responsibility of a filmmaker.
I think you're as responsible as you want to be. I don't mind people who don't. The other night I saw Amy Schumer, and I was just, she makes me laugh. She makes me laugh in real life, and she makes me laugh in a movie. And some things I find questionable, and some things I'm like, offside. But she's interesting, and she's following her own voice. And so, for me, I like things that are a little more political and have a little bit of more emotional resonance. But, I still like, I love Eddie Murphy movies too. You know what I mean? Like, I can quote every line of Coming to America. So, that's a movie everyone should see. But, it's about an art to it. And no one has responsibility to do anything other than stay true. True. Thank you. Hi, I'm speeding through. She's giving me the eye.
Okay, my name is Leslie. I am a 2005 graduate from Benedict College in South Carolina. So my artistic transition, I think, was when I graduated from college. I wasn't able to go right into doing exactly what I wanted to do for financial reasons. I needed to get a job. So I was able to secure a job with the federal government, and I've been working there for the last 10 years. And that's been a blessing, but now I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to step out and do things that give me, I feel like, a value in life, that I'm actually doing something. And I'm a writer, I wrote and I produced. I just recently produced my first, well, not produced, but self-published my first book of poetry. But the question that I have is that staying true to the art and the financial responsibility that comes along with doing that. You said you were able to save up money to get your first film out, and because you had the money to be able to back what you were doing, you were able to stay true to what you wanted. And I think what I'm finding, I guess, hard in this, because I spoke to someone recently, one of my sorority sisters, and she was like, poetry is a hard sell. But I think everything in life is a hard sell. And I think you have to be able to push yourself to do what you need to do. Yeah, I think I lost my question in there. But, y'all laughing. But I just wanted to say that finding that artistic thing and not losing it. Having to support yourself, because this is America and we have to support ourselves economy-wise, but also being able to put the funds in to do what you want as a side hustle on the side, but also staying true to yourself. Sure. Because when you start receiving money from other people, they want to bring in their ideas, kind of what the gentleman before me was saying.
Let me make a comment, because a few other people say it. I think, the whole financial responsibility and your artistic inclinations is a struggle that everyone has. Before, people were paying to do art or work, and that's a rare thing. When I made that film for $50,000, that was actually technically my second film, because I made a film for 10. Paycheck before then. But that was before everybody had a phone, a camera in their pocket. That's before, that iPhone shoots 4K. 4K can project on that, and you can see it crystal clear. That's the phone. Everything's changed. There is truly. I have a friend of mine named Matthew Cherry on Twitter. He goes by Matthew A. Cherry, and he is shooting a film. I talked to him in the car on the way here. He's shooting a film in 5 days over the weekend. A feature film in 5 days. I said, Matt. He had made a big film before with some money. No one would give him money to make a second one. It was a good film, went to festivals, it got distribution. No one would give him a second film. He's making it all on iPhone. He's just doing it in 5 days. It's about the adventures of the Uber driver. And so basically, these people get in the back seat, and all these things, he has his friends doing it. Everyone's just bringing bags of chips and food. They're just making a whole movie, right? That's a feature film. It's one of the most expensive art forms. Everything is possible. So I think, you don't have to quit the job. Okay. You know what I mean? You don't have to not, you can, or you don't have to, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. There are new ways to do it, so I just encourage you to find your way.
All right, and I also brought you a copy of my books.
Okay.
Good evening, Ms. Stewart. I live near Morgan State, next to a coffee shop.
You live near Morgan State?
Okay. Anyway, now that Ta-Nehisi is writing Black Panther, do you think you would revisit that project? And if not, what other hero or heroine would you be interested in creating?
Yeah. He's writing the Black Panther comic book, not the series. I mean, not the movie. And no, I will not do that. I really wanted to. I love that story, but it's about the experience for me as much as the final piece. And I could tell that experience wasn't going to be cool. So I like that fun. Life's too short to be with people and be miserable. And I'm an artist, and was it Erica Badu? So I'm not going to do whatever you tell me to do, and so that's kind of, so I won't be going through that unless they revolutionize the way they're thinking about it. I love the project, and I hope somebody gets in there and knocks it out of the park. I think it'll happen. It's so good.
Any other heroes or
Any other heroes? I don't know. I really would love to do. I mean, if anybody's got a renegade superhero in their pocket, I'll take that card. I'll take that card. Yeah. Thanks. Hi.
Hi, my name is Sky Williams.
Okay, so I'm just checking in with you. There's 3 on each side more, and then we're done. Where is she? I feel fine. How are you doing? Okay, bam, we're hitting it.
Okay, all right, so my name is Sky Williams. I'm a film student at Morgan State. I'm also a SWAN major. So I said that to say that I am a film lover, but I'm also a history lover. And I'm wondering, since you've done like a history movie now, do you think that there is a space, I don't know, in Hollywood or independent movies for Black female history? Because there's a lot of women that have built up our country that nobody really knows about.
Yes, there's lots of room. Gotta find a way to make it.
Right.
Nobody wants to give me money for my scholarship for peace. Nobody wants to give money for the Ida B. Wells piece. Like, it's not there. So does that mean they'll do it? No, because we've got our cameras in our pocket. We've got our clinics. It can be done. So there's definitely room, because as long as there's people want to hear the story, there's room. Forget about the industry. For me, at this point, I got to have some tools to make it, and I've kind of gone through my phase of doing the camera in my pocket, so it's time for the next person with the camera in their pocket. It's time for you to go make it. You know what I mean? It's time for somebody else to come do it. I don't want to be the only one. It shouldn't just be 5 of us, 5 Black women doing this. That's criminal. You know what I mean? So time for more. Come on. Very fast.
Thank you so much for coming today. My question is in regards to what's the best piece of advice you've ever received that you'd like to give to other aspiring Black or female filmmakers?
Ever received? That's a big one. But I will say one great piece of advice that I got, maybe in the last 2 years, that I really, really hold close to me, came from Oprah Winfrey. She said to me, I was on the set of Selma, and it was horrible, horrible day. I was like, this day can't get worse. This is the worst day of this whole thing. Because that guy, that asshole, right? I was like, why is he here? Why is he messing with my thing? I said the words to her, why is this happening? I said that to her. She looked at me and she said, hey, this is not happening to you. This is happening for me. Figure it out. But that idea is not happening to you, it's happening for you. All these things that we call problems and drama and chaos and conflict, what is it telling you? Why is it happening? Why did it present itself in your past? Like, nothing's random, you know? Everything is interconnected. And so to stop and say, this isn't something that's put upon me. This is something that I need to stop and receive and figure out, really has changed things for me. Maybe I hope you can.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hello, Ava. I'm Chris Smith. I'm an information systems graduate.
I'm not going to call me Ava like you knew me.
I feel like keep it personal, you know.
I love it.
There's nothing wrong with that. But my question is kind of piggybacking on the advice that you just gave. Failure is like an interesting thing. It's something that teaches us a lot about ourselves or about what we're pursuing, about what we want to become. And in the beginning of your speech, you were talking about, you know, how you had to claw, you had to scrape, you had to go through all of those struggles. Mm-hmm. How did you get over, you know, not letting that failure set you back or kind of weigh down for you? How do you, let it go so that you get moved to that next step that you wanted to be at?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. You just get through it. All of us have disappointments and failures. You know, as you were talking like this, I remember the time I got fired. I've only been fired twice in my whole life, and it was just demoralizing. Even thinking about it just hurts my feelings. I didn't do anything wrong with some politics. I got fired from like a temp job that I had right after school or something. And I wanted to be, around film so bad, and a job that I really wanted. And I don't know how I got through it, but I did. I got another job. You just keep moving. I don't have a magic thing. It's just you just keep moving forward. The thing is, right, if people give up, I don't hold any judgment. You just didn't want it better. You didn't want it badly enough. Because if you want it badly enough, you get up. You fall down and you get up. They push you down and you freaking get up. They tell you no and you say yes and you get up and you want it badly enough. So I respect that, and I also respect people that just, thought I wanted it badly, but I really don't. I'm going to stay down here. I'm just going to go over there. You know, you have to find your way, but I don't think there's a magic potion. The question is, how badly do you want it? If you want it, you're going to fail. But are you going to get back up? That's a question for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sarah and I go to Hopkins. My question is, in the past couple of years there's been a rise in African American filmmakers and screenwriters in film and television, which has allowed them to construct their own narrative in a place where Hollywood, where stories that they tell today otherwise may not have been told. How can students of color in campus environments where very little value is given to them to begin with continue such a pattern in constructing their own narrative and not letting their value be defined by others?
Thank you for the question. That was something to ask. I think, I would disagree with there being like a real rise in it because it's like 5. Really, when you think about it, it's what, Empire Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, Power, Being Mary Jane, Drama. What else? Drama. Drama. Maybe there's 2 more we forgot. You know what? Let's say there's 5 more we forgot. That's 10. There's hundreds and hundreds of products on it. So I think, it's a little, it's a lot of celebration around some really great voices. And, I'm making a show, but I'm going to be 6 or 7. It's not enough. Aziz Ansari, guys, really, really funny show. He's one. What's the Asian show? The Asian show. It's not enough. And it's not even to have a conversation, talk about how to further that. It's not good enough to further. It's not enough. And so where's the native one? Any Native American people? Like Southeast Asian? Like this? And so I feel like there's so much more to do. Anything that can further it. In the place where you are, amplifying voices, seeing the small film the one sister saw, seeing it because you have to seek it out. These stories are not going to come to you. Very few of them will present themselves with a billboard in Times Square. There are things that we have to nourish, demand, say that we want, make for ourselves. And if enough like-minded people do it, it'll happen. So we get past 5. Next time we talk, maybe there'll be 15. Yeah. That'll be nice.
Hi, my name's Noelle, and I know that sometimes there can be a disconnect between directors and actors. However, in your video that they showed previously before you came out, a lot of the actors were saying that you bring something out of them that they didn't even know they had. So I was just wondering, about your techniques in doing that. Like, how do you evoke those emotions?
Are you an actor?
Yeah.
Oh, you seem sensitive. Actors are sensitive. They're lovely. I love actors. When I was first learning to be a director and was around a lot of directors as a publicist, I would always hear the directors say, I try to create a safe space. Have you heard the time already? I try to create a safe space for the actors. I used to be like, how do you do that? Do you put poems? You say this is like, how is that constructed? What is the safe space? And I would ask people, what is the safe space? And they just say, you just know when you're in it. It's like, what is it? How do you do it? And so everyone has a different technique, and no one likes to say, directors do not like to share what it is. But for me, it's being friends. I would want to get to know you and know what is interesting to you and why are you so sensitive and where's that soft little voice come from? Where are you from? And what did you do? And such, and just start to get to know you so you get to know me so that when we're on the set and it's happening, you're in the trenches together. And that's how I create a safe space. So when they say nice things about me, they're just really talking about their friends. Right? They're just talking about me as a friend because I treat them as a friend on the set, and you have to try to create that bond. A lot of actors and directors work in a more adversarial way, or they don't really know each other. I don't know how you make art together if you don't really know each other. But that's my process. Everybody's different, so that's why I say that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Victor. I'm an engineering student at Hopkins. And I guess the softer side, or the artsy stuff, is a little foreign to me. Or it used to be foreign to me. And I want to ask, where do you get your creative or expressive energy from? For me, for example, I kind of found mine by mistake. I took a photography class and I found out, hey, this was something awesome. I took pictures of my city, Baltimore, and I was like, this is something that means something to me that I didn't think would mean something to me. Where did you, I guess, discover your kind of creative or expressive energy, and has that changed up till today?
I just always loved movies. I just knew it really early that I just loved films. I never thought I could make them with Little Black Girl from Compton. I never knew anybody. How do you make a movie? How does that happen? Who makes anything? You made the movie? Like, it didn't just appear on my screen. It's actually made. All those people with those credits came together to make a movie that's the only person they all listen to. What is that? How could that ever be me? How could that ever be me? I had no context for what that was. So the fact that I'm here, I could cry right now just thinking about it. It's just something I always loved as a medium and never knew how it happened. And as I started to work with publicity and be on sets and see how it happened, I'm like, I can do this. I want to do this. But also, I expressed myself early on when I was your age. I feel so old. I used to be an HC.
Really?
Yes, I was bad. I was all that. And so, and I used to, at one point I wanted to be a sculptor. I was going to be just a badass black woman sculptor. And that just didn't go well. So, it was a time to, at one point I was going to be a poet. But, they were just horrific. The worst poems you've ever heard. So, you're just trying things out and seeing what fits. But, it's all a journey. Exploration.
Thank you. Hey. Congratulations.
Look, thank you so much. 2 more. Are you proud of me? Okay, here we go.
Hi, my name is Vonda. I'm a digital communications major at the University of Baltimore, and I have a quote of yours on the wall that I look at every day, and it goes sort of like, I don't want to mess it up, but if your dream only includes you, then it's too small. And so my question to you is how, as a little black woman, there was a little girl from Compton, like how do you make sure that your dream includes as many people as possible without overwhelming yourself to the point that you can't produce? Because for me, it's like I'm trapping myself constantly because I'm like, but I don't want to forget these people, and I want to include that person, and I don't want to forget that view, and I want to include everybody, especially like everyone in reach. And it's like, but how do you do that and still produce something meaningful?
Great question. I thank you for having that quote on the wall. The quote is, if your dream only includes you, it's too small. It doesn't, I don't know if it's as literal as you're taking it. Everything doesn't have to be in the one project or the 2 projects. But it's an opening up of saying, this work that I'm doing isn't just so I can be put on the next set. It's saying, you know what I mean? Wow, this image that I'm creating, this story that I'm telling, people are going to see this and this has power. What should it say beyond me? Do I have a responsibility to say something? Maybe I do, maybe I don't. And wow, I know that one friend who said that she always wanted to do hair on set. I don't know if she can do hair on set, so let's have her come for a day and see if she can do it. Maybe she can. Maybe it's the start of something for her. It doesn't have to be as big as a firm and array and the way I'm doing it with all these, that was progressive. It started with the very first documentary being like, my homeboy always said he wanted to come take pictures on a set. He took a photography course. He wanted to take pictures. And so we had him come down and take pictures. And then we had another friend I had a friend who always wanted to do craft services. Do you all know what craft services is? Yeah. It's the food on the set. And she was like, I want to do craft services. Was from Compton, the first thing. My dream is to do craft services. It's like, your dream? Services? It's a table with sex? That's what you want to do? No, because I heard they make money and they be on sets and you can be in the union. I was like, well, come set up the table. And it was it had a flower. She was really working the table. It's just opening up, I don't want you to take it like a mandate of something that you have to feel that it's pressing down on you and it's more pressure. Because it doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like love and help. It should feel like that. So if it's getting bigger than that, then maybe pare it down. Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you.
Yeah. Less is more. Less is more. Sometimes. Hi.
So you recently made the switch from Paradigm to CAA.
Wait a minute, am I in Baltimore? This is a heavy duty Hollywood question. What? How do you know Hollywood agency name?
I worked at CAA.
Okay, here we go.
I was wondering why you made the switch.
That is such a technical question. That's not. So I switched from the switch agencies. Gosh. I guess that's on stage. Why did I switch? Because the agency that I was with, I love them. I have nothing bad to say about Paradigm. They were the agents that I was with in Unnair very, very early on. But I was interested in doing things outside of film and television, like I'm interested in virtual reality. I'm interested in animation. I'm interested in making films internationally. Just came back to India. Just those departments that CAA had more bandwidth, like CAA has an India office. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It just has more arms to do more of the things that I'm interested in. So,
thank you.
Gosh, that's the last question. So technical. Thank you. Anyway, listen, can I just take a picture from my Instagram if you can? Okay, I think we have to do some gesture or some, you know, can we do that? Are you going to give us a Here we go. Here we go. 1, 2. I say onward. 1, 2. Onward. Onward. Got it. Thank you.
Sorry, my name is but really. Where's that Brown? That Brown. There he is.